Don't you know that you are the temple of God? And unfortunately, our English translation of this passage is somewhat limited. I did preach on singular and plural you a year ago, and I want to remind you that English is one of the only languages in which you singular and you plural is the same. In Greek, in Polish, in Spanish, in French, and any other language I have heard of, when you say you, Steve, you would use different you, and when you say you all, you would use different you as well. So this text from Paul to the Corinthians would be better translated saying, don't y'all know? Or if you are from South St. Louis, don't yous know? Because Paul is not talking to you individual. Paul is using the Greek plural, multiple you. And that changes theology of that sentence drastically. Because for generations, you in English-speaking countries, you've been told that because of this passage, you are the temple of God. And this is why you shouldn't do any tattoos or piercings or do any other naughty things to your body, because you are the temple of God. Well, whoever told you that was wrong. You are not the temple of God. You all, when you come together, are the temple of God. As individual, you are not the temple of God. Paul is clearly addressing the community of the church in Corinth. And Paul is saying, when you gather together, you together are the temple of God. Corinth and the Christian community in the city of Corinth was very divided, with multiple factions fighting against each other. There were people who would claim that they followed the teaching of Paul. The others would say, I follow the teaching of Apollos, of Cephas, of different people. And there was many arguments, divisions, factions. It was a very dysfunctional situation. So Paul says, don't you all know that you together are God's temple? And if someone destroys this integrity of God's temple, God's wrath will be upon them. Paul is seldom waging his finger like that, but in this passage he is. If someone destroys the temple of God, if someone destroys the unity of you all, God will destroy them. It's a very stern warning against divisions and arguments and infighting in the community of Christians in the city of Corinth. Paul is very, very forceful in reminding his audience that when we come together, we are God's temple. When we are unified, when we work together, we are God's temple. And destroying God's temple, destroying this unity and integrity is a very dangerous thing to do. How timely it is that we hear this passage at this time in our life as American society. We are not unlike Corinthians, with factions and divisions that cause our society to be dysfunctional. Maybe there are no fist fights yet, but we are on the edge of it. There are people who would not talk to their friends or neighbors or even family members because they did vote the wrong way. There are people who would not, God forbid, go to dinner with their in-laws or parents because they disagree with them on this or different issue. There are movements that almost hate each other. The Blue Lives Matter, the Black Lives Matter, and there is no communication between those two movements. The people who go to pro-life marches would never go to pride parades. And those divisions continue to get deeper and deeper in our society. We have to hear the very stern warning of Paul, don't use no, that yous are the temple of God. That together we are God's temple. And when we don't work together, this temple of God is destroyed in our midst. 3 weeks ago, as you know, I was in Poland to visit with my family, and I spent a few days with my sister, my 2 nephews, and Marek, of course named after yours truly, just discovered Rubik's Cube. You know what Rubik's Cube is, right? A beautiful thing that makes your brain work really hard. The idea is to put all the colors and all the sides together. My oldest nephew, who is 12, can do it in under 30 minutes. Amazing. I am not there anymore. But as I was observing him trying to put all these sides and colors together, it appeared to me that a Rubik's Cube is a great metaphor for our society. You see, if you want to solve this challenge, you have to put all the colors at the same time together. One color does not matter more than the other. And one side is not more important than other sides. If you focus on getting only the white pieces together and forget about anything else, you will not get anywhere. If you believe that only your side is right and everybody else can burn in hell, you will not achieve anything. If you want to solve this amazing puzzle, the Rubik's Cube, you have to think at the same time about all the colors and each side simultaneously. You have to think of them together at once. You have to think not only in 2D or 4D, you have to think in AD, because that's what it takes to solve this puzzle. You have to understand that each tiny piece of this Rubik's Cube is interconnected to each other. That focusing on one color, on one side only, will get you nowhere. What a great metaphor for our society. When you focus on your side only, the rest will end up in disarray. If you think that only one color matters, everything else will lay in ruins. The only way to fix our church, our society, is to think about each side and each color at once together as equally important and equally valid. In the gospel, Jesus says, "You have heard that it was said, 'Love your neighbor, but hate your enemy.'" So it used to be okay to love the green color only and hate all the other colors. But then he continues, "But I say to you, love your enemy. Pray for your enemy." Now, it's not easy to love your enemy, is it? Perhaps that's why he says, at least pray for your enemy. I have been praying daily for Cardinal Berg for the last 11 years. And now I'm praying for his safe journey to Guam, where he is sent as a reward for his performance. If you can't love your enemy, start with praying for them. If you can't stand the yellow color on the other side of the cube, start with praying for them. If someone in your family drives you crazy, or if your neighbor gets on your nerve, and you cannot imagine having intelligent and polite dialogue with them, don't start with an argument. Start with a prayer. It used to be okay to hate your enemies. It used to be fine. But if you call yourself the follower of Jesus, it isn't anymore. You have heard, hate your enemy, but I tell you, love your enemy. Pray for them. We cannot keep repeating the same mistakes of the past. We cannot think it's okay to hate the other color. It's okay to disregard the other side of our Rubik's Cube. Because the only way to solve this puzzle, the only way to move forward as a church and as a society is to think of each single color, to work together with each side of this Rubik's Cube. And that is how you solve the puzzle. That is what you get when you come together. When all the sides and all the colors create the beauty of God's creation. Don't yous know that yous together are God's temple? Amen.